Hey guys, I'm Lou. In today's video I'm doing my February wrap up. In the month of February I read 7 books. I actually read 9, but 2 of them are for university, but if I don't care about them, you're not gonna care about them. February was a good reading month for me. University does occupy a lot of my time, so reading 7 books is a massive accomplishment. Most of the time when university occupies my time, I only read about 6 books, so reading 7 or 9 is a really good accomplishment for me. Let's get into it. The first book that I read in the month of February was My Favourite Manson Girl by Alison Uminger. I probably should have researched how to say her surname. This book is a young adult thriller / mystery with a dash of romance. I didn't really like it. I probably should explain the story first before I say my opinions. This story is about a girl called Anna. When she has an argument with her mums, she steals her stepmom's credit card, books a flight to LA, goes on the flight, and basically is a teenage runaway. As punishment for her actions, Anna must spend the rest of the summer in LA with her older sister, and she has to pay back her stepmom the plane ticket. In order to pay back her stepmom, Anna gets a job as a researcher on the movie on the Manson Girls. That's it. This book is basically Anna's summer in LA, and I really didn't enjoy it. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. I would not recommend this book. For those of you that don't know, Manson is a reference to Charles Manson. Charles Manson was this cult leader in LA, and I believe in 1969 he orchestrated the murders of families living in LA, with one of the most famous victims being Sharon Tate, an actress who was 8 months pregnant at the time of her murder. This book is sort of like a research on the girls that participated in the murders. I'll link some YouTube documentaries down below if you're interested in Charles Manson. That's one of the reasons why I picked up this book. Wouldn't recommend this book though. The problem that I had with this book was that the plot was not good. I feel like this book needed a couple more edits before it actually was published. The research on the Manson Girls felt very shoved in there, it didn't flow in the story. The girl, Anna, she's on this date with a boy that she really likes, and then she ends up thinking about Charles Manson and the girls in this romantic setting, and it's a bit like, you have a problem if you're thinking about the girls almost every waking moment. The characters aren't likeable, the plot is almost nonsensical at times. It tries too hard to be a thriller and a mystery whilst being a coming of age story, and if it's a coming of age story with those elements, it doesn't really go. I think this book was just a massive disappointment to me because it was not what I was expecting it to be. I really love true crime documentaries, so I was hoping that it combined my love for young adult books, reading, with true crime, but it failed to do that. It's really sad that this book disappointed me because I really love the cover of this book and I really love the book on the inside, but I do think that this book will be in a future unhaul. The second book that I read in February was Book of Life by Deborah Harkness. This is the third and final book in the All Souls trilogy. The All Souls trilogy follows Diana Bishop. She's a witch, but she refuses to accept her heritage as a witch. She is a historian of alchemy, and when she's studying in the Bodleian Library in Oxford, she comes across this magical manuscript. She's intrigued, but she puts the manuscript aside because she doesn't want anything to do with magic. The following day, she meets the vampire, Matthew Claremont, and Oxford seems to become besieged with witches, vampires and demons. All of them wanting to discover the truth behind the manuscript that Diana managed to acquire temporarily. This book is the final book in the trilogy. I liked it, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but it did disappoint me. This book got my hopes up because the entire trilogy is leading up to this book, but in some senses it failed to deliver. You're expecting this book to be full of action, when in reality it's a lot of waiting around and politics. But I didn't mind that because this series is more about development of relationships and not plot driven. I feel like the plot is the weakest of these books, But if you do like Outlander and you think Outlander could do a dash of Twilight, I would recommend this series. I really enjoyed it. There's not much I can say about this book without spoiling the series. It's becoming a Sky TV show. It's got this whole Instagram and stuff. I'll link it down below if you haven't heard of it and you're intrigued by the book. I am really looking forward to watching the TV show and comparing it to the book. The third book I read in February was Monkey by Wu Cheng-en. This is a classic. This is a Chinese classic. It's also called Journey to the West. I picked this book up because the K-drama Hwayugi, or A Korean Odyssey, is based on this. It's a modern interpretation of this. So I wanted to pick this up, get the origins and the foundations before I watch the TV show, which should end soon so I can binge watch it. This story's about a monk called Triptakata and his pilgrimage to India to acquire the sacred scriptures for Buddha. He's accompanied by 3 disciples, Sandy, Pigsy and Monkey. I didn't have to look at the blurb. I remember the story. This is the second classic that I've read this year and I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to pick up more classics soon. And I'm really glad that I'm picking up Asian classics because you only really know about Western classics, and I did really enjoy this story. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars and it's definitely one of my most liked classics. Me and classics don't really get along, but I do get along with this one. The fourth book that I read in February was Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel. This book became one of my all-time favourite books. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I would highly recommend that you pick this book up if you're interested in sci-fi fantasy. This book follows a team of researchers, and when they discover a large ornate metal hand in the middle of nowhere, they realise that perhaps they're not alone in the universe, and perhaps there are other body parts around the world. Dun dun dun! I really love this book. I could not recommend it more. One of my favourite characters in this book is Kara, and she's literally full of sass and attitude and I live for it. So good. I love this book. The fifth book that I read was Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm not actually a Slytherin. Can you see my jumper? I'm not actually a Slytherin, don't worry. I'm a Ravenclaw. This was just £3 and I think anybody would get that for £3. I'm a money-wise Ravenclaw. So yeah, the book that I read was Stalking Jack the Ripper. Stalking Jack the Ripper is set in Victorian London and it follows Audrey Rose Wadsworth. She's just like any other Victorian lady. She's into gowns and makeup, but she also has an interest in pathology. So she likes cutting up bodies and seeing how they died. This book is set when Jack the Ripper is stalking the streets of London and Audrey is in pursuit of the identity of Jack the Ripper and attempts to stop it. I did really like this book, but the problem that I had was that it told you who Jack the Ripper was. On the back of the book it says, "I was the girl who loved the Ripper," and I don't think it should have said that because it narrows down who the Ripper could be. From the beginning of the introduction of the Ripper character, I knew who he was, so that really disappointed me when it came to the revelation because I was like, oh, it's you. I guessed it was you. That was the weakest point of this book. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I do think it was a really good debut novel. I would recommend this book, I just wouldn't highly recommend it. The 6th book that I read in February was Hunting Prince Dracula by Kerri Maniscalco. This is the 2nd book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, and this one is set in Romania. It's set in Prince Dracula's castle, also known as Vlad the Impaler. That's my dog. The mystery behind this book is whether or not Dracula has come back from the dead. There is a series of murders in and around the castle, and Audrey tries to find out who Prince Dracula is, if he has returned from the dead or if it's just a copycat. The last book that I read in the month of February was Paris for One and Other Short Stories by Jojo Moyes. I actually didn't read this book, I listened to it on audiobook because my library had it. And I was like, I might as well. This book's been on my TBR forever. And I finally finished it. Well, I finally picked it up and then finished it. This is 10 short stories set predominantly in Paris. They're all about love, whether it be finding first love, finding true love, being in a marriage, that sort of thing. There are some short stories that I absolutely loved, whilst there were others that I really didn't. This book made me really want to go to Paris though. But would I recommend this book? I think I would recommend other romance books ahead of this one. I mean, it's a decent book, but I think I'm gonna unhaul this when my bookshelves become too full. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. And my favourite short story was Paris for One, which is the longest. It was a decent book and I'm glad to have got this book off my TBR. So yeah, that's my February wrap up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you have read any of these books, if you haven't, if you want to read any of these books. I hope you enjoyed this video. I probably already said that. I hope that you will subscribe and like this video. Thank you for watching and clicking. Bye guys!